We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Daniel. I'm also WinterFox. I've been cosplaying since about 2012, 2013. I actually can't remember the year. It was the first year that Salt Lake Comic Con had their first convention, so that's when I started.
Yeah. I'm Kalika, Midnight Persona. I've been cosplaying since 2009. A long time ago where an Anime Vegas existed, because I'm from Vegas. And yeah, I've mostly been making a lot of costumes, and I have gotten into makeup probably in the last 3 years, where I've started going really heavy in makeup.
I got into makeup through marching band, of all things. I did a little bit of theater, but I always hated like theater makeup. But Color Guard kind of gave me a little bit more like depth on makeup and kind of makeup skills. I learned that there were like different ways to do makeup, different types of stage makeup and performance makeup. And it ended up leading me into the cosplay world a little bit, and now I own Fox Beauty, and we have a booth in Artist Alley. We're actually right next to each other.
Yeah.
So we are selling some of our makeup products here, and we also do have the eyeshadows on pre-order online. They'll be here in a week. So if you guys are interested in those are ready to go.
All my experience for makeup comes from YouTube, honestly. A lot of the times I started off as an artist, just doing traditional art and digital art. And as I started learning, I was kind of like, I can transfer this to my face. It's just another canvas. So I kind of took my color theory that I know and things that I already learned from being an artist and a digital artist and started just transferring it here, just learning more products and things like that.
Yeah. So some of the basic tools that we use, because it's a little bit harder to do kind of tutorials at like a panel. I wish we had if we had like a webcam to just, on the screen, life would be so much easier. But I mean, with my tools, what I like to do is I like to foundation with beauty blenders. I know a lot of people like to use the brushes to blend. I'm very keen on just wetting my sponges and then just going ham on my face. You wake up, you have a bad morning, take it out on your face with a sponge. You're good to go. I also really enjoy Morphe Brushes.
Yes.
Morphe Brushes are by far some of my favorite. They're really good texture-wise. I really like the blendability of all of them. And just, there's so many options. There are so many.
I think I don't use sponges as much. I use the kabuki brushes, which are the flat brushes. Since I started using them for face paint, because it's easier to spread face paint with those, I started transferring that into my foundation as well, because it was just so much easier for me to place it on my face. And a lot of times when I do foundation, I don't put it on the brush. I just kind of drop that all on my face and then start blending it all in, because it's easier for me to control it that way.
Let's see, so some of the brands that I kind of enjoy using, just because I have a little bit more oily skin, I tend to sweat off my foundations. Things that I found that have worked are Colourpop. Colourpop has a really good foundation line for my skin type. They also have one for dry skin as well, but they last the longest on me, I guess is the best way to say it. I don't really sweat it off at all. It sets really nicely and it has like a nice matte finish. So I really highly recommend Colourpop.
Yeah, I use Colourpop as well because I have dry skin. I have eczema, so Colourpop also has the more matted or the more hydration foundations that are really good. And they have a really large selection of colors. So I was very easily able to find my foundation under Colourpop. I also will use... recently, I started using Cover FX, which is transfer proof. So with wearing masks and everything, it's a lot easier to wear Cover FX because it doesn't transfer as much to the mask once you put the makeup on.
Yeah. At any point, if you guys have any questions about anything, feel free to just, raise your hand. I got my glasses on. I would be in more makeup today, but my skin this morning was not about it, so I only did some eyeliner. Just to kind of do some things. I know with hooded eyes it's a little bit harder because I like to do wings, and sometimes when you do wings with hooded eyes, it gets a little bit harder because it looks like there's just a flat line. I'll take out my glasses again. So when I do my eyeliner, I like to come up in this corner and draw straight down and then straight over, because then you're getting more of that shape that you want. And then if I close my eyes right now, you're going to see all my mistakes, all of that. So it's kind of more of like a drawing the triangle down over to your inner corner and then drawing this over just to kind of give your eyes more of that depth and kind of shaping. Eyeliner for me is like a huge shaping thing. I will do my eyeliner differently depending on whatever character I'm doing because it's a lot easier to shape my face the way that I want to be seen.
Yeah. I color-coded too, so there's not much I have to add to that because I also do the same kind of thing. I don't do it as large because I tend to do a little more simplistic, more natural stuff, depending, like this is not a good example of simplistic and natural, but I like to do more like shape to just me and adding a little bit if I need to like contour, shape my face to like a male cosplay versus a female cosplay.
Whenever I get into makeup, I cake my face on. So I'll start with I do my eyeshadow last. I'll start with that. And everybody says not to do it, but I live on the edge. We're a little bit dangerous. I'll start with my foundation. I'll go in and I'll put on my concealer. Once my concealer is kind of dried in and blended out, I'll take the white setting powder that I have. I tend to use e.l.f. because e.l.f. I found is my favorite setting powder out of everything that I've used. Which is really funny because e.l.f. is like really good for that price. And it's very hit or miss depending on the products. I think that their contour kit and their setting powder are definitely hits. I absolutely highly recommend them. And I'll just go through and just cake the setting powder onto my concealer, let it sit for a little bit. I'll take a big fluffy brush and kind of wipe it off, just all the excess, and then I'll go in with the contour and kind of repeat the process a little bit. I will bake every step that I do on my face just to kind of get it to set more. But I have a lot more luck with getting the makeup to stay on my face rather than like with face masks, you know, they'll come off on your mask. It's kind of like a big thing. I found that I don't have as much come off on the masks if I'm baking in between each step because it's like you're baking your layers on. And I kind of do a little bit the same with the eyeshadow. With hooded eyes, it's a little bit harder because instead of doing it on your lid, you actually have to come up underneath your eyebrow bone. And just do it underneath. I know a lot of people like to have like the differentiation between like, you know, your brow and where your eyeshadow is. I don't. I just like to touch my eyeshadow to my brow unless I cover up my eyebrows and then redraw them. I'll draw them on a little bit higher just so I can get a little bit more work room with some shades.
Yeah. I will do order of foundation, brows, then eyeshadow, then everything else. I don't bake as much, but I do it a little bit. My favorite baking powder is the Beauty Bakery translucent powder. They also have a lot more choices for me than, because like I know you said e.l.f., but like Juvia and Beauty Bakery have darker tones for me to be able to contour with, because e.l.f. is just hitting that exact foundation for me. So I have to go to like Juvia or Fenty for a little bit darker.
Oh, we love Fenty.
Yes, Fenty is wonderful for all colors, and they have such a huge variety, and it's so good. So I use Fenty a lot. It's hard for me to explain how I do my makeup because honestly, I just kind of slap it on my face and go, that looks fine, and continue on. But yeah, I'll do my eyeshadow. I think one of my first things I do, because it takes me like almost 30 minutes to kind of figure out exactly what I want to do and how I want to put it in. I will use Colourpop or NYX's eyeshadow primer and put that on my lids before I start doing like major makeups. If I'm doing something more natural, I'll just kind of go for it. But if I'm trying to make the colors pop, like I used it for this because I have the pink across my face. So in order to make the pink shadow pop out more, I put NYX's eye primer on and then put on my eyeshadow there. And since it's my longest process, I'll do that, and then everything else is kind of simple after that.
I've also found that you can kind of prime with concealer as well, depending on the brand of concealer. I really like Colourpop products for concealers and foundations just because I have the best luck with them with my skin type. So instead of using like an eyeshadow primer, because I always forget to buy some, I'll just conceal my eyes and then let it dry, let it set, and then take some setting powder and just kind of bake it on there for a little bit. And it'll give me a nice clean canvas that I can work with, and I can just kind of play with the colors however I need to.
As a side note to add that, the NYX primer is like $5. So it's been the cheapest primer that I use and easiest to find, and I tend to use it for the more makeups that are like this one with the paint and all this extra stuff. Like with you, I'll use a contour for I'm just doing natural or regular stuff, but if I know I'm going to be making like giant red leaves or something massive on my face, I'll be able to let me prime it with something white so I don't have to worry too much about it.
Yeah.
Or I'll use face paint if I'm being lazy.
So both of us are actually self-taught makeup artists. I kind of go with more of a glam look myself just because it's like, when I play with makeup, I like to completely change who I am. I like to be unrecognizable in makeup, which is really fun. Like yesterday was Todoroki running around, vampire Todoroki. Today I'm just kind of running around with some natural stuff going on because my skin was not having it this morning. So I didn't want to irritate him and wake up with acne tomorrow. So I went with more of a natural thing. I really like to heavily contour and really shape things out. But with contouring, I actually learned a lot through Alison Tabitha, just watching her videos. When she does characters from more of like a Japanese media, what she'll do is she'll take contour from her cheek down to her chin and really make that V shape with like a lighter contour on the outside and a darker contour here on the edges. And it really helps with the shadows and the shaping because contour is just playing with shadows on your face. It's a lot like art. Like it's just another canvas. You're just trying to figure out how you can work these shadows in your benefit. And so it's a little bit harder to get into at the beginning, but once you kind of get the hang of how to blend things out and where to put certain shadows in, you are good to go.
My makeup goes from whatever I feel like. Like I'll do glam one day, then I'll do kind of like a drag king look kind of, then I'll do like something really natural or regular. Like I cosplay Isabel from Animal Crossing, so when I do that, it's a lot more just my face. I don't need to do all the extra contour because she's just cute. And then like a little dog nose or something. So a lot of my stuff really just varies on the day. I watch a lot of people like Jackie Ina because she does a lot of regular makeup and glam makeup, but I kind of transfer depending on the type of attitude she's done with that makeup to characters. So if she's doing like more of a sharp look, I'll be like, okay, that'll fit for like say Evelyn from League of Legends because it's a lot sharper and it's a lot, there. Other than that, I'll watch like Made You Look for a lot of face paints tutorials and stuff like that. I have a round face, so I don't do as much contour, just because I'm still working on figuring out where my lines are in contour with such a like chubby cheeks and everything. So I tend to just kind of highlight my cheeks with blush and like highlight to make it look more like cutesy most of the time. But not working on it as much since I'm wearing masks everywhere, so I'm like, I won't really even think about that. I'll just focus on eyes.
It's a little bit harder because we're all wearing masks, but it's all good. Do you have any makeup hacks?
I'd have to think about that.
My favorite one that I ever learned is if you have an eyeshadow that you're like, man, I really wish that was a lip color, all you need is chapstick. You just take chapstick and rub it in your eyeshadow and it immediately becomes a lipstick. And you can just pop it on, you are good to go.
Or if my lip gloss is too glossy or like my lipstick is too glossy and I want it matted, I will take my eyeshadow and dab it over it to matte it down so I don't have that super shiny look. Or if I don't have the right colors, because I have like a monochromatic set. So I don't have a lot of monochromatic lipstick, so I'll put down a base of a lipstick and then go over it with the monochromatic eyeshadow to get that extra shine. Like I'll use that for like a mermaid look and things like that. So I do that.
I also learned recently about using liquid lipsticks as eyeshadow.
Or blush. Yeah.
What?
I've seen a lot of people put like liquid eyeshadow across their cheeks and then they just kind of blend it in with their sponges to get the right blush color that they want. So.
Stop giving me ideas. One of my products before we had released it, I did send a small little PR package to a friend of mine, and they did this like super insane eyeshadow look with just the lipstick. And I was sitting there like, what are you doing? And they're like, makeup has no rules. You can literally do whatever you want. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do whatever I want now. And it's kind of been a little bit more eye-opening because there's so many different techniques to how to do things. And it's just like trying different things. There's always a new tutorial. My favorite eye hack for graphic eyeliner has been from TikTok, where you take your eyeliner and put it on a spoon and just put it up to your eye, and then you kind of just fill out the line and you have a nice graphic liner. It's insane.
For me, I do a lot of face painting too. So one hack that I kind of use is, since I like to highlight and add that extra depth, I will take my entire eyeshadow palette and just match the colors of my eyeshadow palette with whatever I'm doing. So like, for example, if I had my whole face pink, then I would take the darker pinks to kind of contour with it in my eyeshadow palette to just go in with that rather than searching for contour kits or anything that would fit. I just use the back and forth to do the highlights and the shimmers to do the highlights from the face paint. So it looks natural in another color.
Yeah. Who do you use for face paints?
I use Mayron a lot. Mayron, and I started getting a little bit of Graphitobian paints, but mostly, or the crinoline, but mostly Mayron because they've been the most inexpensive, but they're still kind of pricey, but they stick all day.
I know you can get Mayron from Amazon, right? Mm-hmm. I've only done one body paint costume, so I'm seeing yours, and I'm like, I love everything about it. Like, your color, amazing. And who was it? It was Marshall Lee from Adventure Time. And it was something else to try to figure out how to use face paint, because I've never used that medium. I've never had to do it. Like, it was kind of like foundation, but just a whole other thing. And I don't know. I want to do it again.
Another good face paint, if you can't afford Mayron, is a lot of people use Snazaroo, which is you can get at Michael's or you can get it at Joann's, I believe. The only reason I transitioned into Mayron is because Mayron is almost about the same price as Snazaroo. Like, I think Snazaroo is maybe like $5. Mayron is like $7 per little circle. But I think it's well worth it to pay the extra like $2 or $3 because it will stay on you all day and it'll stick to you. Snazaroo is good, but you have to like use extra setting and all that stuff to really keep it down and make sure it doesn't transfer to other things. But you should always set your face paint regardless, because it will transfer because it's mostly water-based paints.
How do you set your face paints?
They have their own setting powder, or I'll just use my baking powder that's with my regular makeup. They have their own sprays, they have their own powders, which aren't that expensive to get, and I just set with a sponge or like a puff all over and then wipe it off like you would when you're baking.
Okay. I'm going to have to get more into face painting because it looks like so much fun. I just don't know if I have the time.
Do you want to stand up and turn around, because I did your face?
I can. Let me move the camera.
I did my face this morning. Since we are all in masks, I was like, I'm just going to do kind of a mask-esque look for Hades and Persephone. So I wanted to make sure his mask matched his face. So I just kind of painted the blue across like a streak of like a mask. And then I went with the lightning kind of stripes that he has all over his body and put it on his face. And then I painted that on the mask as well to kind of match it. So like I prefer to do full body paints, but I'm like, that's going to come off on the mask and it's just going to be messy. So we'll just make it a little mask and go in and contour his face and do all that stuff. So I do his makeup when he does stuff. So thank you, Ian. That's my husband.
Yeah.
I also always just recommend like lashes too for any eye makeup. Yesterday I had two very thin eyelashes stacked on top of each other, and I just put them on, and it made my eyes look a little bit more natural, because when I do my eyeliner, I kind of cake things on, as you can see. I like to go in with like a base liner first, so I actually use the Sephora pen to kind of draw where my eyes were going to go, because if I use my brand eyeliner first, I will mess up. I need somewhere to trace on, because the liquid it dries so fast and it's so stable that if I mess up, I have to take it all off or we're done. Like, I have to go through and just recreate everything. So I go in with the Sephora one, I'll draw that actual liner on top, and then I'll just put a small thin lash on just to kind of bring more depth to my eyes.
Speaking of lining stuff, that's another good trick for, I know I'm doing a lot of face paint tips, but that's a lot of my medium. I like to play in face paint a lot. If you're doing something that is face paint, and say, for example, you're doing Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas, you can go in with an eyeliner, like a white eyeliner, and kind of trace out the stitches and pieces that you're doing before you put that paint down, because once you put that paint down, especially black stitches, it's there, and it's really hard to go back over it. So I'll take like a white pencil and kind of lightly sketch out the places I want the stitching to go and what I want to do with it. On top of that, when you do that, you kind of create a small line sometimes, unless you go right over it, and it kind of gives more depth to it anyway. So after I paint down the black, I'll go over it with like a slight blue, if it's Sally, eyeshadow to give a little extra like shadow to it. So even putting down that light white line won't really mess it up either. So.
I feel like having a white base too also helps bring out the colors a lot. Yeah, I love using white bases. Let's see. So what YouTubers or any like beauty influencers would you recommend?
Okay, I wrote down a few because I have a bad memory. So like Jackie Ina I watch for dark skin, and then Patrick Starr I watch for a long time. I have a few friends like Flawless by Tanisha, Moose Loves You, Purple Haze Mew. These are people that are on TikTok, and they do a lot of large glam and a lot of more light skin, dark skin to find foundations and things like that. They give a lot of good tips. And I tend to watch a lot of beauty influencers and just transfer that to the characters that I'm doing. So that way, if I know a character is more glam, I can take that glam look somebody else did for their own like daily routine and go, okay, so I know this character might wear that because that's the type of character they are, and just kind of use those tutorials on my cosplays as well. Yeah.
I used to love YouTubers that would go through and do things that I wouldn't really think of. Alyssa Ashley, I think that's her name.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, she has the makeup wheel videos where it's...
I tried that one.
Oh my gosh, I need to do that. What it is it's like a makeup wheel. She has a different product and she will pick a different part of her face and spin the wheel. And whatever it lands on, she's doing that part of her face with that product. And it's so crazy because it's her watching, or just watching her use different mediums for like foundation, eyeshadow, lip color, eyeliner, and it's like getting more insight on how to use your tools in different ways. Because I mean, cosplay itself is just using recycled things and making different props, costumes, different techniques.
It's all creativity.
It's all creativity.
Yeah.
It's like, how can I take this one simple thing and modify it to be something else?
Yeah, I've seen people do looks with just their lipsticks, like eyeshadow and the blush and the everything, and I'm like,
insane.
That's insane and impressive. But like, it's all just about taking what you have and being creative with it, you know? Because even if you can't afford the bigger lipsticks or the bigger brands, you can find something like e.l.f. and like drugstore products and everything. They work the same. You don't have to go for the higher end brands just to get the same look that you want.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I actually really like running to the drugstore and get just like setting powder. That's how I discovered the e.l.f. setting powder, because it was like $3 and I don't regret it. I love it so much. Just beauty blenders, anything like that too. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
You ever check out Pink Stylist's work?
Pink Stylist? No, but I want to. Are they on YouTube?
Person either.
Yeah, he's a YouTuber. And he does full makeup tutorials, he does cosplay builds, he does head to toe, pretty much.
Okay.
He'll go over the whole body or from the chest up. Sometimes he's just doing a simple makeup, or he'll do something unique, but he likes to go all out and do complete head makeup tutorials, and they are phenomenal.
I think...
He also does occasionally, comes on, what is it called, Olaf or whatever it is?
Oh yeah, the sound.
I don't know, it's like a chat roulette thing. I can't remember what it's called.
Okay.
He comes on there in makeup and freaks them out. It's great.
I love it.
All right.
It's fun to watch.
I've met Jew Skellington, is that his name? J-O-O
I
Skellington?
don't know.
Yeah, I've met him at Anime Expo, and his work is insane because it's all special effects makeup, but he does characters like Ursula and just Jack Skellington. It's so insane to see him bring these characters to life with like special effects makeup and just using the same basic techniques everybody else uses, except he has a prosthetic.
I just started diving into special effects. I got to work with the WB team for Back for Blood, and they invited me on a class to learn how to do the written, and that was so much fun to just use the special effects and like just regular like Kleenex and
Cotton balls.
the cotton balls and stuff and the latex to just make this zombie thing. I'd never done it before, so it was really cool. So I'm just now diving into that like section of things.
That's so cool. I want to dive into the special effects with casting, like the molds and everything. I want to do an aura from Final Fantasy XIV, so I want to make my horns all nice and big. But I definitely need them to fit my face, so it's kind of a little bit harder. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I don't know.
So going into your cosplay inspiration, or not cosplay, creator inspirations, who inspires you the most in life?
I know for a very long time Made You Look inspired me because I was like, diving into face paint was such a big portion of learning how to do makeup for me, and she does so many crazy looks, and I also related to them because they're type 1 diabetic, I'm type 2 diabetic, but they're always trying to raise money for diabetes and stuff like that, so watching them do their charity work and doing all their face painting, and they started their own brand and all this stuff was just so amazing. And like for glam looks, obviously I keep mentioning Jackie Aina because she's such a strong person, and even just through her looks and describing how she does her makeup, she also does like very advice giving, confidence, and she'll sit there and be like, make sure you do this and make sure you do that. Not even just with makeup, but like, believe in yourself and do that and get this done and you can achieve these things while just doing her makeup and getting it done. So it's like a motivation while also learning how to do that lip look and all that stuff.
Yeah. I really like Bretman Rock for his personality. It's kind of more of an inspiration as far as like the confidence level. I've noticed, like, I just watch a lot of Bretman Rock videos, even though he doesn't do any glam or makeup anymore. He's kind of gotten away from that and gotten more into the fashion side. It's still his confidence that kind of like pushes me a little bit further to be more bold with things that I try, with whether it's, you know, brand new colors, whether it's a completely new makeup look, a new eye look, a graphic liner. It's just like, I want that confidence level, and that is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So that's where I just like to go. I haven't watched too much Patrick Starr in a while, though, and I feel really bad because Patrick Starr was always one of my favorite YouTubers to watch. He was just so funny.
I haven't watched some recent stuff, but he's still kind of like, I watch his YouTube, so I'll see some of the looks and stuff that's going from the YouTube or music videos that he's doing and kind of get inspired from that.
Yeah.
Especially being the plus size half of it too, learning how to shape my face from him since it's more rounded, you know?
Yeah. I think we always come back to like the art thing as well. Like, makeup is just art, but in a different medium. Because when I do digital art, I actually end up doing all the shading just based off of this is how I would do the makeup for myself if I was doing this.
Yep.
I drew my character from D&D. He's a Triton. And it was really fun just going with the different yellows and greens and kind of just moving and blending things to give him a more realistic art face. And then realizing that, like, if I were to do this on my face, that's what it would look like. So I ended up getting out the green face paint that I just had in my drawer and just kind of messing around with the Triton stuff. And honestly, it's pretty interesting to see how your art style also transfers into your makeup style. It's kind of, everybody does something different, but it's like, it still works, you know?
You can actually take tutorials for drawing and digital art and apply that in making the shadows and the highlights on your own face. So it's like you just have to match your colors versus what their colors are, obviously. So it's like you can take the techniques of shadowing and things that you've learned through art and put it on your face.
It's really cool too because you can actually turn certain eyeshadows into like contour.
Yep.
You can turn eyeshadows into highlighter. You can turn them into lipstick with the chapstick method as well. That's kind of one of my favorite things to do because I have so many eyeshadows that I'm like, that would be so good on my lips. And my brand is trying to develop a couple different lip colors right now. We're trying to look for more of a neutral, natural nude.
Yeah.
And more of a mauve.
Especially since, like going back to face paint, since I have so many characters, or even outside of face paint, that they have a particular colored lip or a particular shine that I want to do, and those lips colors don't necessarily exist. So I will take even my face paints and blend them in the right color that I want, use that as a base for the lipstick, and like lip line it out, and then go over it with the shadow to get the right color that I want and the shimmer that I want.
You know, one of my favorite things that I've seen people do is they'll put like a red lip on and then take a white liner just on the top and on the bottom to make it look like it's reflecting light, and then throw a clear gloss on, and it just looks so shiny all day. And that is what I'm here for. I love everything about it. I'm so sad that like I can't have lipsticks and stuff on right now, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's okay. We move on. Things happen. Yeah. So what kind of lashes do you generally look for?
I have very small eyes, so I don't really like wearing the giant lashes. My favorite lash brand right now is Super Body Kawaii. They're a friend of mine, and they release their own brand, so I bought like every single one of their lashes because they fit so nice and so comfortably. Most of the time, I like the more simple, natural lashes to put on because a lot of my characters are more natural. It's only when I do stuff like Persephone that I need the bigger, bolder ones because she's kind of a glam girl, even though she's nature-based. But mostly smaller, fluffier lashes for my face. I also use Gamer Glam Cosmetics, and I used to buy a lot of them. No, I don't remember the brand name. Never mind. My bad.
I tend to like the bigger lashes myself, just because when I get into makeup in a character for cosplay, I don't want to look like me. I want to look like, you know, a completely different person. So I'll definitely go for the bigger lashes, or if they have kind of like a not so much of a bold look, I'll definitely go for the thinner lashes as well. And I also really like layering lashes on top of lashes. I think that's always fun.
I haven't figured out how to do it yet.
It's a lot easier than you think it is. It's just popping it on.
I think when I have too many big lashes, my eyes get super heavy since my eyes are so small, so I'll just eventually be squinting all day when I have too big of lashes. But I want to try that, doing more.
That's so fun. What is a makeup nightmare that you've had?
getting paint in my eye.
Oh no.
Or getting eyeliner in my eye just because I'm like a little too shaky that day, and then I'd like tip over just a little bit too much. I actually get really worried about doing like my husband's makeup because I'm like, I don't want to hurt you, even though I know I'm not trying to or I'm going to, but I'm like, I'm too shaky this morning, so it's mostly when I get too exhausted and my hands are too shaky. So that's the biggest nightmare I tend to have, is like messing up like that.
One of my biggest nightmares, color guard coaches are ruthless. Marching band is ruthless. The canyons out here are kind of insane, and our color guard coaches would have us be doing our entire makeup on a bus full of band kids. So that's kind of already a mess.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've gotten eyeliner in my eye from trying to do it in the canyon or just on any roads, insane. Like, it's kind of like an Olympic sport now.
Oh,
You know, we used to purposely wait to get in like the worst part of the road to do it, just to see who could do it better. And that just became like our little sport. And then the drumline would actually join us at one point. We don't know why. The drumline kids at our school were always like those kids that had to be doing what the color guard was doing because we were just having fun. And so it was just like all these band kids, you know, try to do eyeliner. They don't know how to do eyeliner. They're just going for it. Oh, it was so fun.
That sounds crazy.
I have nightmares about that still. As an adult, I'm like, that's don't do that.
That's a bad idea.
It's a bad idea. But does anybody else have any other questions? I think we kind of covered a lot of what we wanted to get talked about.
Maybe cosplay questions, makeup questions,
Any stories, anything like that?
own personal makeup stories.
All right, well, we will be at our booths. We're in Artist Alley right towards the beginning now today.
Yeah.
They've said it backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually right next to each other, so we can have some fun. If you guys have any questions or want any one-on-ones or anything like that, we'll be over there.
Yeah.
I know my booth is having a crisis right now. They keep texting me. They feel like it's every 5 to 10 minutes a new crisis happens. Riker's kind of crazy.
Sounds about right.
Right. I love them so much. They're my favorite people, but I gotta go take care of them in a bit. And, yeah.
Thank you guys for sitting in.
Thanks so much for coming, guys.
Yeah. We appreciate you. Thank you for being here, and have a lovely day.
Have a good day, guys.